Hello, this is Max Drake. I want to kind of do a little bit of a follow-up further to this particular video. So I'm going to step back first of all and just talk about it to begin with. So you can actually have a list of items through here. So you can check some items and you can suddenly say, oh, I want an avocado on my list. So you can get a list. We can then just do a refresh on here and it comes through and it will give, if I click on this one here, it will show the back end of all of these items. I can then take all of those items, select them there, and copy them into a JSON, convert it to a CSV format, and there you've got the list of the items, and it goes through and gives the prices at a particular shop. Now, the way that it displays them inside the app is that you actually have the item, and then you actually have all of the different stores, and then all the prices. But what I wanted was I wanted each particular item as a row, and then I wanted all of the shops as columns, so it was easier to read, and so you could condense this down quite a lot. So this one's got something 4 or 5 different items, whereas if you've got 30 or 40 items, that's an awful lot of scrolling to do, and it doesn't necessarily come in the order that you want so that you can quite quickly get them. So when I first did this app and did the pivoting on it such that I could get this back-end information and rotate it around, this is how it came through with the app. So we got the item through there, and then we got all of the different supermarkets close by, and then we can get comparison prices so we can see which one's the best value. Good. The problem is that it sorts alphabetically. So if you're trying to compare eggs, these ones start, and it's ordering by the name of the product. So this is an issue which I've got, is this is the same product, which is chicken breast skinless. And this one's called chicken breast skinless boneless. This one's called chicken breast meat skinless. And they just, some are in some shops and some are in the other shops. And this one's called skinless check. So these two, if they were in this ordered set, you would have 2, which would actually be up here, chicken breasts with whatever, and then the last one would be further down the list, down the bottom, down here. So they're very hard, whereas you want them as kind of adjoining rows so that you can kind of compare like with like, whereas this doesn't really allow that. You've got to jump up and down your item. So then the next method that I actually used was to cluster things together. So suddenly saying, well, I want dog food and that's frozen bones and this bones and that. But you see, for bones, I got the bones because they are actually by the labels that they got. So one's called frozen beef bones, one's called NZ beef bones, beef soup bones, and one's called NZ pork backbones. So they're still split apart within the grouping that I'd got through there. So that was still quite frustrating. So after doing it and having it, I suddenly, you do a reflection on what you've got. So it's a bit like designing an architecture. You just kind of recycle or reiterate. You go back to another design loop and suddenly saying, no, it doesn't quite meet what I want. What I wanted was this ordered list so that I can make the order. So I don't want it ordered alphabetically. I want it ordered by a grouping that I want. So how do I do that? So to a certain extent, where we've got this one through here, we can actually take that URL. So I'm just going to take that URL that I've just got it copied here, and I'm just going to paste it into here. And I'll just delete that and start again. When I get these items, they might actually be in the order that I want, but they just get converted because they get reordered by the stuff. So what I'm able to do here is go to the raw data, copy that, go into the JSON to the CSV, paste it into there, and then I've got all 35 rows. Now all the 35 rows have got all the columns with all of the junk in and everything that I want. But what I can now do with that is that I can download this entire CSV. I've got it saved somewhere else, so I'm not going to bother with that. Is that I can now I've got that CSV there as results 4. So this is the results. It's got all of the data inside here with all of the headers coming all the way through. Now, to be able to match them all together when we do the pivot, now this one's actually got, no, when we do the pivot, because we've got to compare like with like, because there's things like baked beans, and the brand's different, we're concatenating a whole lot together. So we're concatenating the name, the brand, the weight, and the size, or whatever. So we're concatenating a whole lot of things so that we can actually don't get a lot of duplicates, and so we can get the list as comprehensive as what we want. So that then gives us this. That's fine. But what we can also do with this is, by going through the process and constructing a different URL, I can actually break this into groups. So I've broken this into things where all of my bones are together at the top. So I've got all my bones to compare, and then I've got all my eggs to compare, and I've got something like all my 20 in a tray and 12 in a tray all together. So they're kind of grouped together to see, so they're easy to read. So what I can do with this one here is that I'm going to run this first script here, which is going to do the concatenation of my names, but it's going to do it twice. And let's just see what happens. So I'm going to run this file here, and the product of reading over that results for one through here is that it creates this file here, which has the ID, the concatenation of the item. So it's got frozen mixed vegetables, McCain's, each 1 kilogram or whatever. So we've got this whole line here. And we then create a new one, which is exactly the same as the item column, except we're going to put a number in front of it, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So on this one here, we have our list of IDs of what we want. And we don't really need the ID from here, but from this one here, we can then run our script like we did before, which at the very beginning of our script, what we do is we take that item in there, and then we create our URL using the very first column to do that. So we take the first column, which is the ID, join all of the products together, and at the very end we join all of the shops, and then that becomes our GET request that we actually then pull all the data back of all of the items that we have in there. So this one has that, but it's got these 2 extra columns, one which actually has a concatenation, so we know what that item is and which one it is, and then one with the name through here. So we can quite easily now go through the second item. So what we do is we get our normal one coming in there, so we create our first list that comes through like this. And then what we then do is we merge it with this file here. So we merge it on the item column. So the item column is going to be identical in both ones because it has the same items through here. So if we merge them onto there, we're going to get all of the right numbers to go with the right prices and all of those. So when we've merged that, what we can actually do is that we can just drop the items column, and we can drop the ID column, and then we can rename the product column the item column. And the reason why we rename the product column the item column is because when we're creating the PDF, we're using the item in there. So rather than renaming the whole PDF thing to say row item, we can actually just rename the product to item. So if I run this script, I'm doing three things here. I'm just going to print out what the original one was. I'm going to then print out what the merge file is with the 2 PDF merged together, and then when I've cleaned it up afterwards, what it looks like in its final method, ready to be printed to the PDF. So this ends up with a much shorter code. It's got about 130 lines of code compared to the other one, which was about 300 lines of code, because I'm not repeating a lot of things. I'm just doing it as a one-off hit. So if I now run this one here and I go Shift, I'm just going to cancel out of that, and I'm just going to go Shift and run. It's not going to do it because it's the salt. And we run that, and we look at what happened through there. Oh, here we go. So the first thing that it comes through is it does our standard ones and orders. After we do the pivot, it orders everything by apples, A through to whatever letter we've got through there. We then join on the column item, and then we get the ID and we get the product. And from the first one up here, we get all of the columns with all of the prices. But now it's organized by the number. So this is how it's organized. It's not organized from apples, almonds, avocados. It's now ordered by 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So whichever one we chose to have our numbers to put our orders in all the way through there, and we've got all of the columns that we want, so we can actually just delete the ID column and the item column and rename the product column to be item column, and then that's where we've got our new PDF. So our new PDF groups all the items together. So here we got the beef bones all together, so I can actually just look at one particular grouping for that. I might have other things which is just dog rolls, so I've got my main dog stuff at the top. So the nice thing with this is that if I come back to here and I suddenly saying, okay, then I've got chicken breasts through here, so I'm just going to do the API call on these chicken breasts through there, and we come through and we click that, and we get the chicken breasts, and we go to raw data. Copy. We're just going to go into the JSON file here, Control V, and put all of those in there, and we're going to download that CSV, which is called results 8. We aren't going to open it in Excel because we had problems with that, and we're just going to put it into our directory where we have our other one. So this is the directory where we've got that. I don't want all of that up there now, and I don't want that tab open. Now if I go into item 8, I've got those 3 lines, which is the skinless chicken breast, chicken breast, chicken breast. So I can select all of those 3, copy, and I can go into my original file and suddenly saying, well, actually I want them at the top. I want all of my meat at the top. So I'm just going to paste them into there, delete, and save that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm now going to convert this modified file, which is my main library file that I've got through here. So it's going to take that file and create this GXX file, and the GXX file is the one which actually has our listings of all of our items through there. So I'm going to now run this one and run that one. Whoops. Salt is not defined. Oh, yeah, I just partially selected something, that's why. And now I've run that one. If I actually just run the, so that's my new library file that actually has those extra elements in there that I wanted. Now if I just run this updated file through here, it will give me an updated PDF2 file. So if I go into PDF2, and here I've got my bones, I've now got my 3 chicken breast ones, and I can see the different prices. So this one's selling the skinless ones are $15.49. It's also selling the other ones at $14.99. So that's all of those grouped together. So if I'm looking up chicken, and I'd most probably actually put them in a different order because I'd most probably be looking for chicken breast rather than skinless. So I'd most probably put item 4 as item 6 and move item 6 up to item 4. So that's the way to do it. So this now groups all of the things that I want. And if I did want to as well to suddenly say, well, I wanted an extra grouping of maybe all of the meats together, and I can actually have a subheader called meats, and then I can actually have another subheader called vegetables or whatever. But, you know, I've got them down here as the overall list. So, and all of my eggs are ordered into the way, so all the 12 packs are at the bottom, all of the 20 packs are at the top. Oh, 20 piece. I've now got the grouping that I want, and it's ideal for me. So that to me is more the working one of what I was actually aiming at, and I ended up going off in a slightly different journey to get to this result. Sorry, this result, which it was okay, but it didn't really do. It wasn't what I wanted. This is what I wanted. I wanted to actually have the grouping of the things that I wanted together. So this I'm very, very pleased with. So I hope you found that of interest, and I'll put the code up so that you can actually download the modified code to suit with that. It does take this step, so it's nice from the point of view of you're only playing with one file, that you're updating one file, and you can reorder it at any time that you want. You sort of think, actually, I want to keep all of my milks or all of my milks and butters and things like that in a different place, or reorder and suddenly think, I'm going to put all of my meats up at one point in time. So you can fiddle with it to your heart's content, but it's all in one file. You can add items to it, or you can subtract items to it. Like I think one of the eggs one, I think the first eggs one, it was giving empty sets, so I'd most probably delete that and say I don't want that one anymore, it's not working for me. So, and you just update from that file, you update your modified list through here, and then this file here first of all takes all of these IDs to make the URL, which is then the GET request, and because it's a GET request on this same file, you're going to have the exact response all the way through, and then you just substitute this with this, and you get the list that you want. So I'm pleased with it, and I hope you are too. Thank you very much.